We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lord Dakshinamurti represents the spiritual light in all of us, the highest principle in this universe. This is what is the essence of all the Upanishads. This is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita and the entire spiritual study. So that Dakshinamurti, which is present in all of us, is glorified in this beautiful stotram called as Sri Dakshinamurti Stotram. We have seen 8 verses so far, and this is the same essence which is also revealed in the Bhagavad Gita as Uttama Purusha. Lord Dakshinamurti is the same as Uttama Purusha of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He is the Gunatita Atma of the chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita. He is the same Kshetrajna of the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It is the same essence revealed in Kathopanishad, Etat Vaitat. All the verses which reveal Lord Dakshinamurti by Yamadharmaraja in Kathopanishad end with Etat Vaitat. Kenopanishad talks about Shrotrasya Shrotram. So several Upanishads talk about the same Dakshinamurti, same essence. Taittiriya Upanishad talks about Brahmavida Apnoti Param. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad talks about Sarvatma Bhava, which is depicted in verse number 10 of this Dakshinamurti Stotram. So you can relate. So senior students who have been studying the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, they can easily relate to this Lord Dakshinamurti as the very core essence in each one of us. This is the spiritual light. This is the light of knowledge, Chinmaya. Chinmaya means Chitmaya. Chitmaya means full of knowledge. So our essential nature is knowledge. I am. That is what Lord Krishna says in the 20th verse of chapter 10. Aham Atma Ghudakesha. Aham there stands for this Lord Dakshinamurti. So we have seen several verses indicating, revealing this spiritual essence in us, which now we will enter into the 8th mantra. Totally there are 10 mantras, 8, 9 and 10, 3 verses are pending. Vishvam pashyati karyakaranataya swaswami sambandataha Shishyacharya tathaiva pitruputra dhyatmana bhedataha Swapne jagrati vaya esha purushaha maya paribhramitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshina Murtaye. Very important mantra. This is the last mantra which is in the original text. The later 2 mantras, 9 and 10, according to some commentators, they have been added by other acharyas, not by Shankaracharya. He who is the Purusha. Purusha means not a male or not a female. It is a common gender, Purusha. Because consciousness happens to be Purusha. There is no male consciousness, there is no female consciousness. There is no young consciousness, there is no old consciousness. There is no tall consciousness, there is no short consciousness. Consciousness is only one principle. It's called as Purusha. Purusha Suktam, many of you might have studied before. That is also the depiction of the same Dakshinamurti. Now, here he says this Purusha is whirled in Maya. That means it's covered in Maya. So our real nature is this nature of Purusha, which is Sat Chit Ananda. Now, this Sat Chit Ananda is my Swarupam. That means I am that essence in nature. Before I was born in this body is born in the world. But consciousness is not a part of this world. It is beyond the world. That means there is a state of mind in which I exist, which is the same state. If you want to get a sample of that state, it is the same as our state of sleep. So this Purusha exists as Sat Chit Ananda. It is not called as the sleep state because the sleep state belongs to the Jiva with a mind. Whereas Purusha is beyond the Jivatvam. It is beyond the ignorant state of the Jiva. So this Purusha, this Swarupa, my own Swarupa, is covered by Maya Shakti. It is only a Shakti. Similar Shakti, like how we go to sleep. We all as Jivas have got this Nidra Shakti. So similarly, like we have the power to go to sleep, this Purusha has the power to withdraw this entire creation into itself. That is what is the teaching. That is the spiritual light. Now, here it says, in himself, that means in this Purusha itself, the whole world of cause and effect, which is related to relationships like possessor and possessed, father and son, teacher and taught. Now, these are the relationships in this waking world of cause and effect. The waking world is the effect, the sleep state is the cause. That is the way Mandukya Upanishad reveals the waking state. And in this effect, called as Jagrat Avastha, called as the waking state, we see relationships of time and space. Now, time and space, they are the substratum for the entire cause-effect relationship which we see in this world of waking. The father is before a few years. The son is now. The guru is before, the Shishya is now. What we possess is different than what we are as possessor. So in this waking state, we see cause effect. That means the son is an effect of the father. Similarly, a pot is an effect of clay. Clay exists before in time, pot exists later in time. The sun rises, the sun sets. When the sun rises, we say the day has begun. The sun set, we say the day is ended. Now, these are all in the waking state of consciousness. It is the physical existence. Beyond this physical existence, we have a spiritual existence as Purusha. as one principle, which is the entire, which is the substratum for this entire cosmos, is this Purusha. That is the teaching of this particular verse. What it says is, this Purusha, this spiritual light, which we have seen in the 4th verse of this Dakshinamurti as a light of knowledge, which goes through the 5 sense organs as 5 beams of consciousness through the 5 sense to the 5 sense objects. That spiritual light in the 8th verse is said to be the Purusha. This is a title given to that spiritual light. And it is also called as Sat Chit Ananda. As long as I have a vision of this Sat Chit Ananda, that means this light is attributeless Atma, pure Atma. What am I experiencing in the waking state is the attributed Atma. Body, mind, and intellect are attributes, medium through which this consciousness operates. But this Atma is ever free. Like the waker is ever free from the dream state, this Atma, this Purusha, this Satchit Ananda is ever free from the waking state. The moment I lose sight of this attributeless I, all of us are aware of the attributed I. Whenever I say aham, in this aham, in this I, there are 2 aspects. One is called as the body-mind complex. I am the body-mind complex. Everybody is aware of it. Everybody takes this I as the real self. But what Lord Dakshinamurti is teaching us is there is an attribute-less I. Nothing new for us. We are experiencing it every day. In our sleep condition, we are attribute-less I. Lord Dakshinamurti is only through this verses, 10 verses, revealing that nature of ours, making that nature as prominent. That as a predominant nature of aham. This aham is incidental in the waking state. That aham, which is the Atma aham, is the intrinsic. This may appear to be completely mind-boggling teaching. Many people can't get it at all because it's too subtle. First of all, it is subtle, it is slightly abstract. You need a purified mind to accept this as the truth. That is why there is a lot of emphasis on preparation of the mind in spirituality. Bhagavad Gita spends 15 chapters just to prepare the mind to accept the teaching of chapter 13, 14, and 15. All other chapters are basically preparations. So here also, we must understand this essence in us. It is there, but I don't know. That is called as ignorance. That is called as self-ignorance. Atma Ajnanam. Now, Atma Jnanam is the same thing as, which is called as Maya, which is also called as Avidya, which is called as the Sushupti Avastha. It is also called as the Karana Shariram. All this mean the same thing. So, moment I lose sight of this Aham Atma, because of this Maya Shakti, there arises a confusion, an error. This point we should be very, very clear in our understanding. We have seen what are the errors possible in verse number 5. There it was said that that we take ourselves to be the body. That is an error. We take ourselves to be the mind. That mind is only an incidental thing. It appears in the waking and in dream, but it goes off in sleep. Therefore, that mind cannot be me. This body is an object of knowledge, like a table and a chair and the sun and the moon and five elements, the tree and the stone. All these are all objects of knowledge. This body is also object of knowledge. But by mistake, I say this body is me. Body is mine is true. Like the car is mine, the house is mine, it is true. But body is me is wrong. That is what is the correction, which Dakshinamurti in these 10 verses reveals. Indriyas, I am the sense organs. Some believe this very strongly. Especially if somebody is blind or deaf or he can't speak, he will say the indriyas, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, they are the life in me. Because without that, I can't operate in this world. So some people take the body, some people take the prana. Without prana, there is no life. Some people take the sense organs as themselves. Some people take the mind as themselves. Some people take the intellect, the flashy thing which happens in our mind. Suddenly we get a flash of light, thoughts. They think that that flash of light, which is shanikam, which is momentary, that is their self. And some people believe shunyam. Shunyam means in sleep, I am nothing. I am blank. The world is nothing in sleep. Some people believe that non-existence is the ultimate truth of existence of this Jagrata Avastha. So all this we have deleted, we have studied this in the verse number 5, and we have negated all of that. So that is what here we have to understand, that I am not these which are relative in nature. What happens when I become ahamkara I? Ahamkara I is the waker I. It is the dreamer I. It is the sleeper I. This is what we are going to study in depth in Mandukya Upanishad when we do the text next. So Vishwa, the waker is given a name in Mandukya Upanishad as Vishwa. The dreamer is given a name called as Taijasa. And the sleeper is given a name called as Prajna. So these are three names only for our understanding, so that we can fall on the lap of Turiyam. So in Mandukya Upanishad, the teacher gives these names. And then he says, you are not this Vishwa, you are not the Taijasa, you are not the Prajna. You are not, Vishwa means the waker I, you are not the dreamer I, because the dreamer I is related to the mind, subtle body. The waker I is related to the physical gross body. Again, that is wrong. The sleeper I is related to the ignorant state. Ignorance, self-ignorance. Therefore, the sleeper I is also not my real nature. When I put all these three together, it becomes the ahamkara I. The waker plus dreamer plus sleeper I. If you want to give a common name to all three of them, it is the ahamkara. And what is beyond this ahamkara is, what is the name given to that in Mandukya? It is Turiyam. Now Turiyam is nothing else but Purusha, which is given here as Purusha. Turiyam. Now this Turiyam I is in whose presence all these three waker, dreamer, sleeper are coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Continuously coming and going. Anadi Kala. Even if the body goes away, he takes another body. The Jiva takes one more body. Again, he comes back to the three states. Again, he goes back. Again, he comes back to the three states. This is a cycle of events which is going on for millions of years. We have to cut off this cycle and realize that we are not this ahamkara, I, but this Purusha, which is the light of consciousness, in whose light everything is happening. Once I fall, I can't avoid the relationships. That means what? I fall from my original level of Sakshi I. This verse is an extremely deep verse. Like we did the last verse, verse number 7, which talked about Chin Mudra. If you remember, we talked about the three states there also. And we said the three long fingers, they indicate the three states. The index finger and the index finger stands for the Jivatma. The thumb stands for the Paramatma. When the Jivatma joins this Paramatma, he becomes one Atma, which is called as Purusha. That was 7th verse. Here, the same Purusha is again trying to be revealed in another form. See, in each of these verses, Shankaracharya uses different methodologies to arrive at that one Purusha. Every verse, if you see, he is trying to arrive at the same spiritual essence in us. Right from first verse till the 8th verse, every verse you go, you will find the deeper essence is being revealed again and again in these 8 verses. Every verse you would look at it, Shankaracharya is magnificently presenting the essence of this creation. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, Jagan Mithya, Brahma Satyam, that is the essence. Brilliant work by Shankaracharya. So here he says, once I fall from that Turiyam I, Purusha I, then what happens? These relationships cannot be avoided because the world is relative. That is how this creation is. The 5 elements are the cause. We will see in the next verse how related we are all in this world. So what happens is the waker I is related to the Jagrat Prapancha. Prapancha means the world of 5 elements. Dream I is related to the Swapna Prapancha. The world brought about by the subtle elements is the dream world. So there is a relationship between the experiencer, waker I, with the experienced world. Similarly, between the dreamer I and the dream world, the sleeper I and the sleep ignorance. Karana Prapancha. What about this Purusha? Purusha or this is Asanga I. It is not related to the waker, dreamer or sleeper. These 3 are only reflections, like you see a reflection in a mirror. So the Purusha is always there. The Satchidananda light, the spiritual light, is an ever-existent principle. It is the truth of this entire universe. It is always present and you can never negate this. That is why if you try to negate yourself, it will not be possible. Even if you say Neti, as discussed in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, ultimately you will fall into objectless knowledge, which is called as Purusha. Even if you close your eyes in meditation, what happens is ultimately all the objects are gone. what remains is objectless knowledge. And which is your true nature? That is what is Purusha. So this relationless Atma becomes related to Ahamkara. By what type of relationship this is? This is substratum and adhyasa, adhishthanam and adhyasa, superimposed and the substratum. This is the relationship between Atma and Anatma, between Purusha and Prakriti, between Kshetra and Kshetrajna. This is the relationship. Same thing is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 13th chapter, if you study properly, you will understand the 8th verse, what is being described. And here, same logic is used in the 13th chapter. Relationless relationship. Exactly like the waker has got a relationship with the dream world, without whom there is no dream world. But as a waker, he is independent. Similarly, Atma, the pure consciousness, Satchidananda, in its true essence, is pure. Pure means what? It is unrelated, unaffected by any event which happens in the waking state. The waking state belongs to the mind. Atma is the light in which we experience this waking state. What all relationships are possible in this waking state? That is what is being described in this verse. Karana Karya Sambandha. Karanam means cause. Karyam means effect. Waker I look at myself as a result of the past karma. Punya Papi, worried about Jatakam, a product of Sanchita, Agami and Prarabdha. We have learned all this in Vivek Chudamani. So what is this waker I? It is a product. It is a karyam, the jiva I, which is undergoing this life of events in the waking state, is a karyam. It's an effect, like the pot. It is an effect. But what is the clay? What is the karanam? Karma. And what is that karma? All the results of punya papam, which is there in the account of the jiva. It experiences joy and sorrow in the waking state or the dream state. This is the creation. This is the grand creation of the Lord, described in chapter 10 and 11 of the Bhagavad Gita. Mandukya Upanishads, Gaudapada Acharya says, Kartru Karma Sambandha. There is a relationship between Karta, Ahamkara, I, and Karma. Relationship exists. The sleep state is supposed to be the Karana Shariram, in where all the potential jiva exists like in a seed form. And that sleep state I, the sleeper I, is springing up, projecting this entire waking state and becomes the waker I and the dreamer I. So sleeper I is the karanam for the waker I and the dreamer I. This is the essence of Mandukya Upanishad. And what about this absolute I, which is not a relative I? Waker, dreamer, sleeper are three relative I's. But what doesn't change in all the periods of time is this Purusha, is this Sakshi. I want each one of you who's listening to this talk to understand that there is a spiritual light called as the light of Lord Dakshinamurti, which is the essence which is the essence of all of us. If this is understood, then you have understood the entire Dakshinamurti Stotra. That absolute I is called as Purusha I, from where this whole creation has come, into which the whole creation goes. That is what was explained in the first verse, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam. Nij Antargatam. You must underline this word, Antargatam. Very important. Antargatam means what? It is in me. It is in me means what? It is I am this spiritual light. I'm searching for the spiritual essence in me. Throughout my life, so many lives have happened, but I couldn't understand who am I. Lord Dakshinamurti reveals that I am of the same nature of which he is saying, this is my nature and this is your nature. Tattvamasi. So Nijantargatam, that absolute I has become miserable ahamkara I, running after astrologers trying to find out pariharas. No need to do that. If you come to the field of knowledge, you can drop all your visits to the astrologers. You can, all these people who tell you that do this and do that and do this, you'll be all right. You can drop it, because through knowledge you can get rid of all these problems. They say ultimately the Atma Jnanam is the cure for all our sorrows in life. And that is what is revealed here. Swaswami Sambandhaha. Swaswami Sambandhaha means the relationship between Ahamkara and is with the rest of the world. Possessor is the Ahamkara. Possessed is the world of house. Possessed is the son. Possessed is the Sishya for a guru. So for a guru, it is Sishya. For a father, it is son. For a mother, it is the daughter. Or mother, it is a son. So similarly, we find the whole, for the tree, it is the seed. Cause is the seed. So if you look around the world, the 5 elements are the cause for this creation, the entire creation of the prapancha. If you look at anything in creation, you will come down and say, this is the 5 elements, nothing else. Whether you go to Mars or Jupiter or any planet, any cosmos, any star, anywhere, it is the 5 elements. You take the earth, it is the same earth, whether you go to Mars or whether you go to Jupiter, it's the same. It's the same earth element. This is how the Vedic teachers have taught us. And all this is material by nature. Purusha is the one existence consciousness principle, which is the knower principle, which is the light in which we experience the world. This conversion between the material cause and the Purusha, how is it created? How is this cause-effect relationship built? It is because of the wheeling power of Maya Shakti. I am trying to uncover or discover this Shakti and then realize myself. Ishavasya Upanishad also says the same thing in the end of the Upanishad. It says you discover the sunlight. Please, O Lord Sun, it says as a prayer, it says, O Lord Sun, please remove the covering so that I can see the golden face of yours. Please remove your covering. It is the prayer of the Jiva, and he says, I want to know that Hiranyagarbha principle. So similarly here, Maya Shakti, there is a power in this whole universe which is covering. That is the Ishvara Shakti. Like we, Jiva, have a very small Shakti to just to go to sleep. But the Ishvara Shakti is this Maya Shakti. When I try to understand the principle of Ishvara, I will learn this Shakti, and then I will know how to remove this through the knowledge provided by Ishvara, through these verses, through this Brahma Vidya. So most of us are in the state of ignorance because we do not know how to unreveal ourselves. But when I know through the study that I have to remove the 5 states, the 5 koshas, the 5 dresses, the 3 bodies I have to remove, the 3 states I have to remove, and then I have to know I am the light behind all this. The empirical world which we experience is this world of ego I, ahamkara I, the weaker I. Eshaha purushaha paribhramitaha. This comes in the verse. Eshaha purushaha. That means this spiritually illiterate, confused people are there because of ignorance. They are spiritually illiterate. They may be illiterate from the world point of view. We are all literate people. We are doctors, we are lawyers, we are expert in sports, and we are in astronomy and biology and in so many sciences. We are experts. But when it comes to the light, the spiritual essence, that is, we are very, very dark. We don't know. It's hidden. That is called as the ignorance. Anybody you ask him, who are you? He will point to his body and give a big biodata. He will point to the intellect. I have studied this, I have studied that, I have studied this, is all intellect. Or if somebody is suffering, he'll say, I have got this emotional problem, that emotional problem, this, that is all the mind. So our biodata consists of only these 3. The real biodata is of the spiritual light, which makes this entire thing possible, which we learn through this Lord Dakshinamurti. As ahamkara, I will always be relative individual, related to the external world. I'm called relative because, not because I have a lot of relatives, that is of course there, and it is the body which has got the relatives. In sleep, who is your relative? Nobody. Your son is not your son in sleep. You are a sleeper. You don't have any problems which you find in the waking. In the waking state, you have that problem, that economic problem, that social problem, that so many worries, so many things. But in sleep, what happens? All this is dropped and then you're peaceful. All ahamkara can never be without problems. And Sakshi I can never be with problem. That is the beauty. Asanga Sakshi becomes Sasanga Jivaha. Sasanga means with relationship. Asanga means no relationship. Now this combination, why does it happen? For the sake of Sukham and Dukkham. This is how Gita, Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter, the Lord says, I am that spiritual light which connects the matter principle with the consciousness principle. The Lord, Ishvara. That is what we call as Ishvara. This is a spiritual light. When it connects the body to this whole Jagat. Because of Kala, Prarabdha, problem-free relationship does not exist. As a child, I have problems. As an adult, I have a problem. As a youth, I have problems. So relationships always come with problem. There is not a single relationship without a problem. Even relationship with God has got a problem. But Sakshi I has no relationship. It is ever free. That is Lord Dakshinamurti. in whose presence all this goes on, ever free. I need to know that Dakshinamurti in order to hold on to him and say, I am of the same nature as that Lord Dakshinamurti. Because the light in me is the light in all the bodies. This is the revelation of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the spiritual science which we are taught, by which we learn to look at the whole universe as one principle, which we will see in the 10th verse of this stotra. Jivatma I is a product of my own past karma. 10 years ago, I did this. Therefore, today I am enjoying the fruit of that action. I studied well in college and school. Today, I'm able to work and get job. So that is in effect. So Jivatma I is a product, is a effect of what? Of action done in the past. Today I do actions. Today I learn this Dakshinamurti Stotram. After 1 month, I'll say I am ever free. That is the effect. All this is happening in the field of time. And what the scriptures tell is that my own prarabdha has given this physical body to me to enjoy the emotions, to enjoy the social personality, and realize my truth. As I said before, Jagrat and Swapna are karyam, effect. Sushupti, sleep state, is the karanam, in which all the world of Jagrat and Swapna becomes unmanifest. It comes into potential condition in the sleep state, unmanifest condition. From the animus, unmanifest, again it becomes manifest. Again becomes unmanifest, again the next day it becomes manifest. This is called as Jagat. Jagat means 3 states of consciousness, 3 states in which the mind operates. That is called as Jagat, world. In this world, there is Sishya, there is Acharya, there is Pitru. That means there is father, there is daughter, son. There is a relative I. It is playing a role. All of us are playing a role. Throughout our waking state, we are playing roles. Throughout. When you are in front of your son or daughter, you are playing the role of a mother or a father. When you are in front of a boss, you are playing the role of a staff employee. When you are teaching yoga, you are a teacher, and then the other people are students. When you go to a bank, possessor and possessed. You are a possessor of a bank account, and the bank is the owner of the funds which you have. So everywhere there is a role play. That is what is called as Jivatma I, relative I. What happens in Sushupti? Sushupti means sleep. Or in death, what happens? There is no permanent solution for Punar Janma. There is no permanent solution, because Punar Janma means what? A new life starts again. Again, it brings the Sambandha. Sambandha means again it brings relationships and samsara. So in sleep, it is a temporary relief. In death, it is slightly longer relief. But again, we are born again. That is what the scriptures tell us. For birth and death, the only proof is the scriptures. Kathopanishad, Lord Yama says this very, very clearly. He says this is a cycle. What you are seeing is just a cycle. It happens again and again. We are all in this cycle. Unless until a guru comes and teaches us, come out of the cycle. Don't look at the cycle. Come out and realize your true nature. That is what Lord Dakshinamurti is teaching us here. The confusion-less inner essence is the real Dakshinamurti. That is the real, that is the same paribhramitaha. That means one who's free from all delusions is this real nature of mind, which is called as Dakshinamurti. To that Guru Murti who has now put on the Vesham, this Ahamkara I, that Rohini I, that Kala I, that Jacqueline I, that, you know, any I which is a name. These are all names given to the body. And when you play a role sitting inside the body, you're called this, and then you play this role, and then again you, in sleep, you come out of it temporarily, again you come back. This is what is happening in this world. When I know that I am not this role-playing I, but I am an absolute I, in which all this is happening, then I'm free from the cycle of birth and death. So actual teaching of Dakshinamurti Stotram is over in verse number 8. Verse number 9 and verse number 10 are two verses. They are winding up verses which is added up by someone later, not by Shankaracharya, but some other Acharya. That is what we have read in the commentaries. Sureshwaracharya, one of the disciples of Shankaracharya, has written a wonderful book, Manasolasa. It's a commentary on Dakshinamurti's Stotram, and very beautiful commentary. It goes into the logical aspects of this Stotram, and you can study that if you want, but it's it's written in Sanskrit. There are English translations also available. That is for people who want to study this text a little bit more deeper. Verse number 9. Bhurambha, this verse describes Lord Dakshinamurti in 8 forms. Bhurambhasanolo nilom bharam maham anartho himanchu puman ityabhati charachara kemedam yasyaiva murtyashtakam nanyat kinchana vidyate vimrushatam yasman parasmad vibhav tasmai Shri Guru Murthaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurti. This Dakshinamurti is what we see as this whole universe. The 5 elements, the sun, moon, and the jiva. 5 plus 3, 8. The sun and the moon are nothing but the eyes of that Paramatma. Same Paramatma is there in the jiva also. So what it says is this whole Jagat is nothing else but Lord Dakshinamurti. In verse number 9 and 10, the Sarvatma Bhava, that means one spiritual light, is the essence behind this entire creation, is being revealed. Now what he says is, this Dakshinamurti with 8 forms manifests as this whole universe of the movable and immovable. So creation can be chara achara. Chara means movable. Achara means immovable. Birds, animals, human, they are all moving. The stone, the mountains, the rivers, I mean, basically the stavaram, things, trees, they don't move. Mountain doesn't move. So the world consists of movable and unmovable, immovable. And both are nothing else but this one Dakshinamurti, one supreme, all-pervading essence is this whole universe. This is the same thing revealed in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 10 as all the vibhutis. One Lord with hundreds of vibhutis. In chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita, he says the whole Vishwarupa Ishvara. That means the whole Vishwa world is only the Lord. Arjuna was shown that the whole cosmos exists in one spiritual Lord Krishna. Same thing he's saying here. Normally, and what he says is, if you can meditate on this Lord Dakshinamurti as the supreme one consciousness being revealed as this universe, then that is how you prostrate to Lord. In meditation, many of us don't know how to do it. So this is one of the beautiful verses which we can use as a tip for meditation. See, meditation is nothing else but control of the mind. We all learn how to control the mind to realize the supreme being. And it happens. Automatically it happens. The more you practice these type of Upanishadic meditations, they lead to the revelation of the supreme light in us. The intellect gets stunned, and then what happens is it goes beyond itself. Lord is generally taught as in three levels: Eka Ishvara, Aneka Ishvara, Arupa Ishvara. Now in Dhyana Shloka, verse number 3, Chitram Vatataro Mule, Vriddha Shishya Guru Riva, Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam, Shishyastu Chinna Samshaya. That was Eka Rupa Ishvara. That means Lord Dakshina in the one form. He is sitting under a tree. He is teaching a group of disciples. That is what is Eka Rupa. Lord Shiva in Rudram is Vishwarupa Ishvara. Many of you chant Rudram. There it is Vishwarupa Ishvara. Or Gita chapter 11, when you chant, it is nothing else. You're chanting the name of the Lord as Vishwarupa. Vishnu Sahasranamam is the name of the Lord as the whole universe. Aneka Rupa. Upanishads are the only texts which reveal the Arupa Ishvara, the formless nature of Ishvara, which is what we call it as Sakshi, which is what we call it as Turiyam, which is what we call it as Uttama Purusha, formless Ishvara. So here we are talking about the formed Ishvara, the Aneka Rupa Ishvara. Vishwato Mukha Dakshinamurti consists of Ashtamurti. Ashta means eight facets. What are the facets? The 5 elements. Earth, fire, water, all this, space, these are all the 5 elements. And what are they? They are modifying. Throughout the waking state, you will see the modifications going on. The sun is shining, the trees are, there's a change happening throughout our waking state. Our body is changing. Our body is made up of billions of cells, and they're continuously changing, but I am not aware. Similarly, this whole creation, the earth is moving, the sun is stationary, there is a Milky Way going on, there is so many things happening in this universe, but I am not aware of all that. It is the world of 5 elements in change. That is called as Prakriti. Bhautika Prapancha means the product of the 5 elements. The 14, see, the 5 elements have got a subtle form and they have a gross form. When it comes to gross form, that is what we see through our sense organs. The sun which we see is a gross form, but the gross form has a subtle form which our senses cannot perceive. That is the creation. So there is a creation, invisible creation, which my eyes cannot perceive. The subtle elements, and beyond the subtle elements, there is a causal element. That is the Karana Prapancha. So the 8 facets are basically the sun, moon, are just representatives of this Lord Dakshinamurti and the 5 elements. Then Puman. Puman means Jiva. One Chetanam principle. Jiva here represents the conscious element in this creation. There is no creation without the consciousness. No creation. Unless there is a consciousness, conscious being, there is no creation. Even if you say there is a Mars exists, but there has to be a knower of that Mars, otherwise that Mars has got no meaning. There is a Chetanam Tattvam. Chetanam means consciousness principle. Right from an ant to Brahmaji, that consciousness principle exists. So inanimate objects which form the 5 elements are called as the Achetana Vastu in the cosmos. And that Achetana Vastu is the body of Ishvara. So this is how the Lord Dakshinamurti is presented in this mantra. One body is the avatara under the tree, but the Shariram, the whole cosmos, is nothing else but the same avatara which is there under the tree is there also in the whole universe. And that is what is called as Vishwamukha Dakshinamurti. So don't forget that there is a consciousness principle attached. Chetana Tattvam is there along with Achetana Tattvam. That means the material body along with consciousness. Deha and Dehi, both are required in this creation. Bhur, Ambasi, Analaha, these are all the names of earth, water, fire. Anilaha is air. Ambaraha means space. Aharnataha means the sun. That means the Lord of day. The Lord of the day is called as Aharnataha. Himanshu. Himanshu means the Lord of the night. The cool rayed one is called as the moon. Puman means the Jiva Rashis, the Chetana Tattva principles. In Vishwarupa Shiva, Vishnu, Devi, all deities, there is no difference. As Vishwarupa, because they all represent the same one principle. Ekarupa varies. I can look at the whole cosmos as one Lord, or I can look at different facets of that cosmos. I can look at Vayu Tattvam and say Lord Vayu. Vayu means the air principle. The deity behind the air. The deity behind the Mother Earth. The deity behind Gangaji. Nanyat Kinchit Nasti. There is nothing else in creation other than Vishwarupa Dakshinamurti. Param means absolute principle. That means what is the ultimate in creation is this consciousness principle, which is called as Dakshinamurti. And that Dakshinamurti consciousness is all pervading. Vibhum. Parasmat Param Vibhum. Other than all pervading absolute consciousness, Kinchit Nasti. There is nothing else. So this is the Sarvatma. This verse and the next verse are talking about one consciousness principle from which this entire Jagat comes, and the entire Jagat doesn't have any existence without this Lord Dakshinamurti. This methodology of Adhyaropa and Apavada is the methodology adopted by the Upanishads, adopted by the Bhagavad Gita and this Dakshinamurti Stotram, by which my intellect learns to look at the whole universe and as this product of one consciousness, and then my own intellect is able to bring back the whole universe in an unmanifest form into this consciousness. When my intellect learns to do that, I will have no difficulty in understanding this 10 verses of Dakshinamurti. Matha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam proktam sutre maniganaiva. This is the 7th verse of the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Very beautiful verse. There is nothing in the world apart from me. That's what Lord Krishna tells Arjuna. Nothing in the world apart from me. Apart from me means what? Apart from this spiritual light. And where is the spiritual light? Don't search here and there. It is in me. In me, in this body, there is that spiritual light. I can also know that spiritual light as Aham. Aham Brahma Asmi. I am Atma Brahma. I am that spiritual light. When I say that in the seat of meditation, I realize the truth. That string which is connecting the whole universe is in this body as the Chetana Tattva, consciousness principle. I can't say that God and world exist. What the teachers tell us is mistaken God is this world. That's what we call as world, Jagat. And the right world, suppose I learn to look at the world correctly, that is called as God. World for deluded is God for the wise. What I call it as God, the deluded people, they call it as the world. This is what makes the difference between jnanam and ajnanam, between an ignorant and a realized master. Vimrishatam. Vimrishatam means for a thinking mind, for the refined people, scripturally educated people who have used that scriptures, the words of the scriptures, along with their intellectual reasoning, who have combined the two. There they see no world other than Dakshinamurti, the light. The same light in which we are all present in our sleep state. We go back to that same light. Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye, that light, I again and again offer my namaskara. So we can use this verse in two ways. Before the study, when we look at Lord Dakshinamurti, it is called as Upasana. I don't know the nature of Lord Dakshinamurti as the spiritual light. I look at a form and I prostrate. But the same after the 10 shlokas, what do? I take it as Nididhyasanam. I do dhyanam of that spiritual light as the light in me. I am that light is there in me. Then it becomes Nididhyasanam. I learn to drop my identification as the body, as the individual ahamkara, as the individual ego, and learn to look at this Vishwarupa Ishvara, Dakshinamurti, as present in my body. After study, Vishwarupa Dakshinamurti is a fact. No world other than Dakshinamurti exists. There is no world other than God. This is a Nididhyasana sloka for the wise person. Mundakopanishad says, Brahmaiva idam amrutam purastad brahma paschad brahma dakshinataha uttarena adascha urdhvam. This is all Brahman. That means I look on the left, I look on the right, everywhere is this spiritual light. He is everywhere, above, below, side, everything is one Brahman. Brahmaiva tad amrutam purastad. Brahma paschat. So before study, Vishwarupa Upasana is not possible. But after the study, I learned to look at the whole world as this Dakshinamurti. What is the uniqueness of this sadhana? Sadhana means practice, which I practice a meditation. Instead of taking an idol in a temple, I take the whole universe as the Mahashivalinga. I invoke the Lord upon the universe, like revering Mother Ganga as God. The Ganga Ji is flowing. You know, when I look at the Ganga river in India, I look at that as the mother. It is a superimposition. I learn. Similarly, when I look at the whole universe and say, this is all Lord's creation, okay, that is it. Even if I have not understood a word about Dakshinamurti, I understand only one thing. What I see, what I experience is all one Satchidananda. That's it. And I say, that is my real nature, pure consciousness. Unless it is understood as a fact, it becomes an imagination, but I learn to visualize that in my own nature. When I do that, when I say it is I which I am presenting, that light of consciousness is me, then it becomes Aham Graha Upasana. From me, this whole universe rises. From me, in me, the whole universe sets. And this is what is described in Kaivalya Upanishad mantra, Mayyeva Sakalam Jatam, Mai Sarvam Pratishtitam, that mantra. Or this mantra of Mundaka Upanishad. All these mantras, they reveal the same one light, that's all. The same light of Lord Dakshinamurti. Sarvatmameti svuti kritamidam yasman mushmin stave tenase shravanat adharta mananat dhyanat sankirtanat sarvatmameti vibhuti sahitam syat ishwaratvam swataha siddha siddhyo punas siddhye tat punara parinitam cha aishwaryamah kritam. This is the verse which talks about Sarvatma Bhava. Sarvatvameti svuti kritamidam. That means the whole universe is nothing else but this. All this is one Atma. Atma means what? It is the self in me, is the self in all. The self in all is called as Brahman. The self in me is called as Atma. So here in the 10th verse, it says, the more I hear this 10 verses again and again, reflect on these verses again and again, what happens is the meaning gets assimilated. And then I achieve the divine state of Lord Dakshinamurti. That is called as the selfhood. And when I get that, when I do that, I may get some siddhis. I may get some powers of a yogi. But I don't care of those siddhis. I'm not bothered about them, but I am that pure consciousness is my ultimate learning. This is called as the Phalashruti. Phalashruti means what benefit do I get of learning after learning this Dakshinamurti Stotram? The benefit, what it states is, you get Sarvatma Bhava. That means I am the essence behind this body. That means I am the light behind this body. Is the same light of Dakshinamurti, which has been revealed to me by these 10 verses. There is only one light of consciousness in this entire universe. This verse is the condensation of the entire teaching of Upanishads and Prasthanatrayam. Prasthanatrayam means Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and Brahma Sutra. Put together is called as Prasthanatrayam. Sarvatmamiti Sprutikritam. Yasmad Mush means Tave. Again and again reflecting on them. Sarvam Atma iti bhavaha. Everything in creation is Atma alone. Other than Atma, nothing else exists. This Jivatma, which I think I am, is a mithya. Mithya means it appears, but it is not the ultimate truth. The spiritual light is the truth. It has content of Atma alone. That means throughout the role play which I do is nothing else but this light of Atma. Anatma Prapancha is nothing else but Atma with a different name. It is Nama Rupa. Like ornament is nothing but it is gold in a different name. So world is nothing else but Atma with a different name and form. The world is not a separate substance, because ultimate substance is only one Lord Dakshinamurti. Sarvam Atma iti bhava is the aikyam. This is the oneness which is declared in the end. Oneness between the world and me. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This is the one sentence you should never forget in life, because this is what is the ultimate essence of all our learning. Anytime till you are 100% convinced on this sentence, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, till this sentence you are 100% clear what it means, and your intellect can accept it as the ultimate truth, the spiritual study should continue. So this Vedantic essence has been taught in 9 verses. Amus means stave. Stavam means Stavam means hymn. In this hymn or a stotram, stotram means what? It's a glorification of the Lord, praise of the Lord. In a capsule form, we have studied this. The capsule form of 10 verses is nothing but the essence of the entire Prasthanatrayam. One who wants to do this Vedanta Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam can do this Dakshinamurti Stotram again and again, and both the study of the Upanishads can give the same as what Dakshinamurti Stotram can give, which is called as Moksha Phalam. Asya means seeker of moksha. Shravanat means what? Shravanam means hearing, listening. Systematic study under the guidance of a competent teacher for a length of time is called as Shravanam. Tadhartha Mananat. Tadhartha Mananat means you clear the doubts by Mananam. Sarva Atma Vibhuti Sahitam. There is nothing other than Atma, which means what? I am all. I alone am in the form of everything. That is what Advaita teaching is. Generally, it is not acceptable unless it is taught properly what that all means. That is what we'll do in Vedanta study. We learn to understand what is this consciousness by which we are able to claim that I am everything. Until the intelligent accepts this as a fact and it doesn't protest, we have to do mananam. Mananam means what? Reflect. Reflect, how can this consciousness be all? That is called as dhyanam. Dhyanam means it is an assimilation process. And what happens by dhyanam? This consciousness becomes my nature. I don't look at body, mind then as my nature. I learn to look at pure consciousness as my nature. That is the Phalashruti. That is the ultimate thing which happens in all our spiritual study. Every time when I look at the world, I remember this fact. That's all. Sankirtanat means it has got 2 meanings. Sankirtanam means you can either do recitation or you can do meditation as dhyana. Mere chanting can also give us ultimate phalam of moksha. Slowly it will give. So daily, if somebody chants this Dakshinamurti Stotram, one day definitely he will come to the meaning. Not only come to the meaning, he will understand the essence behind the meaning. In many schools of Vedanta, they chant this shloka for the entire 2-year period when you are there. Many schools of Vedanta. It's a 2-year, 3-year courses which are conducted in India. Every day in the morning, there is a Dakshinamurti temple. I have been to some of these schools where at 5 o'clock in the morning, they do this entire Dakshinamurti Abhishekam for at least 45 minutes. This whole process is done 5 to 5:45 in the morning. They do this, they chant this mantra, and then they start the study. Very powerful. So for a qualified person, it gives an opportunity to dwell on the teaching of Dakshinamurti Stotra. And then you get this final knowledge which liberates you. Vijatiya pratyaya anantarita sajatiya pratya pravaha. I will continue this portion next week. There are only 2-3 pages left for this. And then I will do a little bit of summary next week. And we will end this Dakshinamurti's shlokam next week. And if you have any questions and answers, you can bring it. And next week, we will conclude this text. We will have a quick revision of the balance pages which I have got. And these 2 slides I will explain next week, 113 and 114. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, there are a few questions in the chat board. Akshay, Hiranmayena Patrene Satyasyapi Hitam Mukham. Yes, this is the verse. You're right. Akshay, this is the verse from the Ishavasya Upanishad. Very beautiful verse. O sun, you must be behind the rays. Remove this cover. I must see the truth within. This is the truth which is hidden. So this is a beautiful mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad. The same thing is depicted here in Dakshinamurti Stotram. Thank you, Akshay, for bringing this verse, number 15 from the Ishavasya. This is also, can be very beautiful verse for meditation. You can just sit down and recite the same mantra and let the meaning continue in your mind. That's all. When we were taught this mantra of Ishavasya, it made a very big impact on me. And it was very easy to meditate with the help of this mantra. Because when you chant this mantra and then you pray to Lord Sun and say, you remove this covering, I can't see you, because that's what we are all jivas. We are all trying to find out who we are. And this is a beautiful mantra which helps us. What is the place of Dakshinamurti temple you referred here, sir? What is the place of the, oh, okay. This is in Coimbatore, in Arsha Vidya Vidyalaya. There is Swami Dayananda Saraswati has a beautiful temple of Dakshinamurti temple in that school. And I have visited the temple long ago, what, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and a very beautiful temple. And even today, the Lord is prayed there with, and there are students. It's a 3-year course which happens there, 2-year course of Vedanta. So the students go up the hill, they pray to Lord Dakshinamurti, they do the Abhishekam, it sets the day right for them, and then they learn the Vedanta Upanishads. And I mean, even if you attend 1 or 2 sessions, it goes so deep. You can't imagine how strong that, powerful is that idol there is. Is there any other question from others?
Namaste, Shekharji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shekharji, when you said here that there is a Chaitan Tattva and there is an Achaitan Tattva, which is like the body of the God.
Yes.
Yeah, and how can I picturize myself in the body of the God? Myself, I am the Chaitanya, yet I am in the body of the God. How to visualize myself here, Shekharji? Can you please?
Yeah, very good question. Because okay, now this is what is being taught by in chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita also. The way to do this is, first of all, you should close your eyes and you should say that this body and this mind is not my body and my mind. This body and this mind belongs to the 5 elements. That is the first thing we should tell ourselves. And which is the truth, because that is what is the scriptures teaching us, that I am not the body. There is another principle which I don't know. Therefore, the first thing you should say is, this body is made up of 5 elements, which is the truth. I mean, there is air in the body, there is space in the body, there is fire in the body, there is earth element, all the minerals which are there, which constitute the different parts of the body, the bone, the marrow, water is present, blood is there. All this is what? It is only matter. So, and who is the controller of this matter? It is Ishwar. So that is the first thing I should tell, closing my eyes. I am not this body. The body belongs to God. Not only my body of my own children, my own husband, my own mother, my own father, all the bodies, they belong to only one principle, that is Ishwar. Now, once I have handed over that body, then what is remaining in me? Who is saying all this? It is that consciousness. It is the conscious principle which is saying this in the mind and saying, I am not the body, I am not the mind. We have to use the mind to say, I am not the mind. We have to use our body to say, I am not the body. So that is the first step. Once you have learned, this comes by practice. It doesn't come automatically. If you do for the first 2, if you do first time, second time, it may not happen. But if you do repeatedly for say a month or so, then what happens is the mind gets used to saying, I am not the body. Automatically, you will say, I am not the body. And then this thought will always remain with you throughout the day. I am the consciousness. I am the consciousness. I am not the body. That is what is the ultimate teaching of this entire Dakshinamurti Stotram, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Upanishads. All of them are teaching us exactly only one thing, and that is, I am the consciousness. To answer your question, the first thing is you tell, I am not this body. Practice it. Then what happens is, then you are only talking about consciousness and the 5 elements. In the second step, what happens is you learn to say that the 5 elements have got no existence without the consciousness. This is the second step. There is nothing called as 5 elements without conscious principle behind them. And that is the nature of Ishvara. Ishvara means what? It is that Chaitanyam. It is that pure Chaitanyam in which, whose presence, this entire world which you see is a display of that Chaitanya. Like one light spreads as the 7 colors, Vibgyor. We can't see that pure light through our normal eyes. But when we put a prism and then we see it through a prism, the same one light appears as 7 colors. The same thing happens. This whole Jagat is nothing else but one spiritual light. It is just an illusion. For all of us, we see differences between you, me, her, she, the whole world of differences. Bheda Bhava is only an illusion, but it is not the truth. It is not like we say the sun rises and sun sets. It doesn't rise and set. It is an experience only. The truth is sun is stationary. Earth is rising, earth is setting. So similarly, there's one light of consciousness in which the whole thing is appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. That is the essence of this whole 10 verses teaching. We will do the revision next week. So you will get the full grasp of the 10 verses. I will cover in one session. I'm going to cover the entire 10 verses. So far, I've taken so many sessions for one verse, 2 verses per session, but next week we'll complete it. We'll do a quick revision where the same ideas which we have discussed, we will try and quickly go, say 10 minutes, 15 minutes per verse and finish off, so that it stays in our mind. And that is the idea of this revision. I could have finished it today itself and said, that's the end of the talk, that's the end of Dakshinamurti. But I thought, let me just take one more session next week. And let's see. Just to keep a note, next week on Wednesday, when there is a announcement of the talk, just make sure that you see the announcement, because I may not take class next week. 99% the class is on. But in case for some reason I'm not able to, just check your WhatsApp message about the next week's class on next Wednesday, because I'm going for the this COVID injection on this Sunday. So hopefully I should be fine on Wednesday. I should be having the class, but in case there's some side effect, I will cancel the class. Vijay is asking, any relationship between verse 9 of Dakshinamurti Stotram and verse 4-5 from chapter 7 and 14? I feel today's verse relate a lot to chapter 7. Yes, you're right. Introduces Brahma Tattvamasi. Yes, you're right, Vijay. Are you still around?
Yes, Shekharji, yes.
Yeah, you're right, Vijay. This the verse
yes,
number.
It talks about Ashtadha Prakriti. I was somehow trying to relate with these 8 components of Dakshinamurti.
Yes, it's there in the Bhagavad Gita. You see, when I take the Bhagavad Gita class, I refer to Dakshinamurti. But here in Dakshinamurti, it's good you pointed this out. It is the same what they are talking in the 7th chapter. Exactly the same. That's Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti. All that is the same concept which they are teaching here in this Dakshinamurti.
Good evening, Shekharji.
Yeah, Sandeep.
Yeah, so I would like to share something. So this 9th verse, right? Like the 9th verse in Dakshinamurti Stotram, I think it makes like good for meditation. The reason is because all the things which were discussed in 8th verse, right? So they're trying to sum it up in the 9th verse, right? So these are the only 8 elements in which which are like movable and immovable, and try to see the consciousness in all these things, right?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, like, this, without this verse, it would be difficult to do upasana actually. That's what I feel.
Yeah, you're right. That is why somebody has very intelligently added this ninth verse, because
Yes.
without the Sarvatma Bhava, it is very difficult to realize that consciousness.
Exactly. So
It's
because
very,
there should
very
be some
intelligently added, because this Sarvatma
correct.
Bhava is a very important aspect in our learning.
Yes, correct.
And you're
Because if
right, this is a very useful verse for meditation.
yes, so Shekharji, that's what, right? Like if we don't, I mean, it's not like division, but to at least meditate on certain things. Like for example, say if we don't divide the universe into space, time, and matter. Okay, space is something like which is related to all the 5 elements, right?
Yes,
And time is something related to sun and moon, right? Because these are the two
yes,
things which determine the sun,
that's
so
correct.
which determine the time. Okay,
Yes.
and the last one is the matter. Matter is nothing but what all things like which is responsible for movable things. That is nothing but matter, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so
It's a
that's what
very
I would like to.
scientific verse. You see, if you look at science, here it's a very, very scientific verse. It tells us the whole thing, what science is discovering, but at the same time, it brings in the consciousness aspect as a
Correct.
separate principle, which is not matter principle.
Yes, correct.
In
And
this
one more.
consciousness, everything is happening. That is what you should be very, very clear.
Yes. So one more thing is, see, in many of the scriptures, they say that it is with the help of that the eye can see. It is with the help of that the ear can hear. Okay. So this kind of context, like
Yeah. That's the
but,
same Keno Upanishad mantra.
yeah, Keno Upanishad mantra, but the eye cannot find it. The ears cannot find it. The
That's
only
correct.
way which we can find it is through intellect, because intellect is the one which is near to that, right?
Yes. But intellect there has to be aided by the Shastra.
Correct.
Without
Intellect
the
has to,
Shastra, the intellect tries to ask the question, who am I? It'll not get the answer.
correct. So when the intellect is immersed with the essence of all the scriptures, then only we'll get to know that, we'll understand, we'll try
Then
to
you will get the
investigate.
freedom.
Yes,
That
correct.
is what is called as moksha.
Moksha. And one more thing, Shekharji. So the reason I'm telling is we are always free, right? So, but even though like we are always free, why we say and people like spiritual seekers, they say, I wanted to attain liberation, right? So that is something which is like contradictory statement, right? You're always free.
Yes. You
You're
see,
all
initially when we start the study, we say that you need to attain liberation.
correct.
You see, as you become, as a junior student, you're said that moksha, one of the purusharthas is moksha. As a junior student, but as you learn the scriptures and you come to realize your nature more and more clearly, then the teacher will say your nature is always muktaha. You are nitya muktaha, you are always liberated. But at a later stage only, when you have done sufficient study of the Upanishads.
Yeah, so it's just like for the spiritual seekers to probably drive through, because we are not so expert in grappling for the first time, right? So obviously you are right. So once we do a deep analysis of all these texts, then only we'll get to reach to that plane of absolute reality.
Yes. Very good, Sandeep. You have done a good analysis.
Yep. Thank you, Shekharji.
Thank you. Vinod, do you have any question? You are just joined today from France. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you so much. Yesterday I listened only one chapter, the first one. So I'm somewhere trying to catch up everything.
Yeah, if you attend next week, Vinod, you will be able to catch up all the whole text, because I'm going to do a full revision.
Yeah, then after I go in the Google Drive, I will look for, maybe I think I don't have any knowledge in Vedanta, so I have to start in the beginning level.
No problem. You start with Tattva Bodha first, and then you will understand the entire thing.
Okay. And I start also with Padmini Amma, the Gita chanting last week.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, Vinod.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else has any other question?
Shekharji, I have another question.
Yeah, Sheetal, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Shekharji, when you said that, you know, when we are saying that this is the light, this light of consciousness
Yeah.
to attain, and when we are doing the self inquiry, like who am I, we hit a point where that lullness, that stillness comes, and we don't understand. And then you have said that you know, this emptiness is what is, you know, the first prevailing thing what we actually notice.
Correct.
Now Dakshinamurti Stotram is an this upasana is saying that Dakshinamurti is the light behind that emptiness. So so going, you know, crossing this emptiness, that is the stillness, which is a lull thing, which does not show any kind of a, you know, a direction. But we know that beyond this there is something. So this upasana, how it comes into handy when we are crossing this emptiness, Shekharji, please can you let me
Yeah,
know?
see, this is see, what you are missing is the teaching of Tattvamasi, which is there in Chandogya Upanishad. It is there in this is the Mahavakya portion of the Upanishads which you need to learn. Now you will get an opportunity to learn this Mahavakya. See, simply put, I'll just explain to you what it simply means is,
Yeah.
what the guru tells a shishya finally is, you are that light principle, you are that consciousness principle. And what does the shishya do? Shishya says, let me go and meditate that I am that consciousness principle. So what this shishya student does is, he sits in meditation, not as a seer of blankness, but he says, I am that consciousness principle in which this blankness is coming and going. I am conscious. I am consciousness. You learn to drop that experienced blankness and focus the attention as Aham Brahma Asmi. When you say Aham Brahma Asmi, it means I am the light of consciousness. Automatically, you will learn to drop the blankness. This
Okay,
is a
Shekharji.
hurdle every seeker faces. Every seeker, every 100 out of 100 seekers will face exactly what the hurdle you are facing. Throughout my teaching sessions, every single student has asked the question which you have asked today. Every student has asked this question. How do I get rid of this blankness? The only answer is, make a deliberate statement in your own mind and say, Aham Brahma Asmi. Here, the word Brahman should be very understood. That is why that Mahavakya inquiry is very important. You see, I have I've taken this Mahavakya inquiry in Bhagavad Gita sessions and also in my Upanishad sessions. I've taken this Mahavakya inquiry, how to segregate, how to drop. Basically, Mahavakya inquiry is nothing else but dropping your identification with the three bodies, with the Pancha Koshas, 5 Koshas, and again just repeating. The vritti has to come in your mind. A thought has to come in your mind. And the thought is, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that pure light. Let that vritti come. Let that deliberate thought come. That is the only way you can remove the blankness. Only way. There is no other way.
Yes, Shekharji. So you're saying just drop the blank or the aham vritti and take the brahmakara vritti.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, okay, Shekharji. Thank you so much.
Okay. Is there anything else? If not, we will meet next week and we'll close Dakshinamurti Stotram. On the 7th of April, we will start the Mandukya Upanishad. It is an extension of Dakshinamurti Stotram. Whatever we are doing is exactly similar. Therefore, we will do the Mandukya Upanishad on the 7th of April. We'll start that.
Hello,
Yeah.
sir. I have one question.
Yeah.
So, do we have a free will? What means Advaitic point of view? From Advaitic point of view, whether we have free will or not? Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. Do we have a free will or we don't have a free will? This is again a very, very important question. Almost every seeker asks this question. Do I have a free will? When I study Bhagavad Gita, I am told that I am that spiritual light. The answer to your question is yes. Initially, the answer by the Guru is yes, we have. For a junior student, the answer is we all have a free will. So in your normal day-to-day life, you run the life and say, I am responsible for all my actions. I have a free will to decide yes, to do or not to do. So always embrace the world with a free will and make sure you use the free will thoroughly. What is fate? Fate brings experiences in my life. It brings the fate. For example, the Purva Prarabdha Karma will bring events in my life. How I deal with that event is through my free will. I can use my free will to face all types of Prarabdha Karma Phalam. Doesn't matter. Let any situation come. As long as I have a strong free will, then what happens is I learn to face any type of event which comes into my life with strength. So this is the first part, and this is how you should learn today. When you're learning the Bhagavad Gita, Dakshinamurti Stotram, free will, without free will, you cannot have any Vedanta. Suppose you say, I have no free will to study. If everything is fate, then there'll be no study, there will be no teacher. Because if everything is happening according to fate, then you don't need teaching at all. Purushartha means the 4 goals. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are the 4 goals of human life. The goals are there, therefore, because we have the free will. We have the free will to earn money. We have the free will to enjoy life. We have the free will to live a dharmic life. So the answer to your question, Akshay, is that yes, we have a free will. I use my free will to remove my ignorance and see that light of consciousness in me. It exists. So I have to use free will. Does it answer?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much to everybody. We'll catch up next week then. Thank you and good night.
Good night, Shekharji.
Good night.
Hari Om.
Yeah, Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.